Hello and welcome to my screencast. My name is Tyler. I'm going to be guiding you through a step-by-step tutorial today. Thank you, Mr. Coronado, for this amazing project. I'm absolutely loving it right now. Take 36, give or take. I'm going to be ready for a beer after this. Let's see. So really, this tutorial is just going to be based solely upon some basic design techniques and using different elements like type, texture, and imagery to create something dynamic. And I'm going to try and do that in a short amount of time. And hopefully I won't bore the hell out of you in the process. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out by opening Adobe Illustrator, which is what we're going to be working in solely today. I already have that ready to go, so you don't have to watch the opening sequence of that. We're going to go up to File and create a new document. I'm going to title this Solo, which will make sense in a little bit. Basically, setting up your new document, if you're new to Illustrator, is fairly simple and straightforward. All your options are in here. The advanced button usually isn't clicked, but it is for me. And this is where you're going to choose what kind of work you're going to be producing. And so what we're going to be doing is using some basic RGB for web. Not solely, I'm going to set it up so we can print it as well, but I'm going to go up to the document profile, select basic RGB. Difference is units. I'm going to use inches today just because it's basic. If you were going to be doing something for the web, I would highly recommend pixels because that's the standard measurement unit used in web design. I'm not going to mess too much with the width and the height. It's basic letterhead size, but I am going to use the horizontal option here. No bleed today, sorry. I'm going to set it up with two artboards. We're going to have a couple options I'm going to show you, and I'm going to use some high resolution imagery, so I'm going to select a high 300 ppi raster effect, and again the RGB, which is going to maintain a better screen level of color that's going to be more accurate. If I was going to be printing, I would use CMYK sometimes. That's a longer story, and I'll get into that on another day when I want to do 37 takes on a screen task. Okay, so select OK. We open our new document. Here are our two artboards we set up at horizontal. Just to show you, I'm going to go up to Window and select, View and Rulers, Show Rulers. So now we have a measurement system if you want to work with a grid or have more of a precise measuring option. Okay, so first board, I have some presets, vectors, images, so on, all ready to go in a separate folder. I'm going to open first my flock of birds. And this is a basic rendered and expanded vector image of birds with a black fill. These are grouped if you would like to and are new to this. I can't go through the whole vector tutorial, but when you're working with groups, usually you're going to want to be able to have the option to ungroup them. So that's under Object, Ungroup, and just keep my selection tool down, and just for example, ungrouping them, I can move certain pieces around to my liking. I'll keep this just for the sake of this tutorial, but you can always Control Z and move everything back to the way it was. And so now I do want to keep them grouped, so I'm going to use my selection key, create a bounding box around them. They're all selected. Object, group, good. Now we're going to go edit, cut, and we're going to bring this into our first board. So now you're going to go edit, and I'm going to paste in front, and that's important, and I'll show you why in a second. Working outside the lines is not a problem, but I'll scale these down just for the occasion. Okay, we have our first element. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the T over here, or you can simply type T for your type tool. I'm going to hold down left on my mouse and scale out so I have some room to type. I'm going to type solo, all caps. This is the same as the document we set up. So now I'm going to select a larger size just to look at it. I'm then going to select bold, and this is a Myriad Pro typeface. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this to my liking, and because we are going to use this type as the main foundation for our mask, I want to get it as close in as I can. So you can see these changing and moving around here. I'm changing the kerning on that by simply holding down Alt and using my arrow keys. I'm going to squish these in so we can get about as much room as possible to have a better amount of imagery that's going to show through that. That'll become apparent in a second. Okay, so that's all selected. I'm ready to go. Now I want to change this from an editable type to an actual vector image. And technically it's an object, but image object, whatever. You want to go to your type after you have it selected, and let's see. Sorry, I need my selection tool. So I'm just reselecting it with the selection tool. I had my type tool on still. Excuse me. So go back up to type. It doesn't have to be, you know, blacked out or anything. Create outlines, and now we have created an object out of type. This is no longer a functioning editing type object. It is a vector image or object now that is solid. Okay, so object, and I want to group this. It should be grouped anyways, but I just want to make sure. Okay, and then I'm going to bring over these birds on top of it to create a little bit of aesthetic effect. And I'm holding Shift to make sure that as I'm changing the size of the bird's bounding box, they're not going to be stretched or pulled. So if I didn't hold Shift, they would look all awkward and weird, and we don't want that. I'm going to kind of bump these up so that their flight path is a little bit more slanted. Okay, so we're good there. Alright, so now this is where it becomes important, where the birds were placed in front. I'm going to make sure they're still in front here. So I'm going to select Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. That is because what we're going to do right now is select both the type and the birds together, and we're going to go up to Object and create a compound path. So compound path, make. You're going to see some changes here where this has now been structured and fused together, so to speak. However, what was black on black will now be changed and reversed. So where the birds were black on the black type, they've been knocked out. And this is just kind of a cool effect. but it gets even better when we are gonna bring in our image and show what this actually does when we want to either mask it or place it over something else. So I'm going to bring in an image, and that's File, Place, and I'm going to go to my pre-selected folder, select Images, look at the thumbnails, and I'm going to select this bad boy. So when you're placing an image, always make sure to embed it, or it can get lost when you do file saves and stuff. Again, shift and drag for your image adjustments. I'm going to place this in the center. And so for the first part, I'm going to select our object and bring it over here. Scale it down. Okay, so it's outlined. That means because the image was placed, it was just placed above. So what you do, you keep this selected, object, arrange, bring to front, and we're good. And now you can see where that compound path was made. That white negative now becomes transparent and knocked out. So the background is actually showing now in all these places through. So those bird shapes, their negative space now becomes filled with the background image. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to enhance this a little bit. It kind of looks cool right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to select our object, and then we're going to play with some blending modes. So I have my transparency box open already. If you need, go to Window and select Transparency. Mine's already selected, and that'll bring up this transparency box. Here are all our blending mode options, normal to luminosity. I've worked with a lot of blending modes, and personally I like overlay for this. It's nice, soft, and just enhances some things. So we're just going to kind of bleed this into the sky a little bit. Not too crazy, but enough to where it just gives it a little kick. So as you can see, the blending mode has changed our object into something that has now become a little radiant and set back a little bit more into the sky. Okay, option 1 done. Now we're going to mask this. It's going to be quick, but it gives it a cool effect and just gives you more options. Click and drag with the Alt key and shift down. Okay, we're going to copy that, and now I'm going to copy the image that we're going to mask with. Click and drag that. And actually take care of the opacity. I'm going to turn that off. Excuse me for that. Okay, now we're going to shift click and copy, or not copy, but select both the image and the type. And now I'm going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. Alright, this is basically warning me that the vector is pretty crazy and complex, so sometimes it doesn't work. I believe it's going to work, so yes, and this is what we have. Version and option 2 of what we have created. To see the mask change, we can go into isolation mode by double clicking, and now I have the option of changing the image size within that mask, which will completely alter and change how things can appear and look and so on. And I kind of want to get that boy, the solo man himself, in there, and that's about good. Click out of that, double click to get out of isolation mode, and I'm just gonna make this a little bigger so you can see it's a little pixelated, but whatever. And there we go, there you have it. Yeah, 2 examples of what you can do with some basic techniques. I hope you enjoyed this, and Ian, you better give me an A. Here we go!
Hey, what is going on, guys? A couple of you are wondering how I made 3D logos, well, my logo 3D. It's really simple, so I thought I'd show you guys how to do it now. But basically you want to take your path of your logo in Illustrator. This is your path, it's basic, it's really simple. In Photoshop, if you have a path or you just have a logo, I can show you how to make it an outline. I'm going to combine these two and then I'll just move it out of here. To make an outline over here, you just make a selection, go into select, right click, and then say make work path, and then it'll generate a work path that way. This one is sometimes inaccurate, as you can see, it's like off the edges and stuff, but that's a really quick way, or you can just draw it yourself. But I'm going to use this as an example. Then you go to File, Export, I believe. I haven't done this in this version of, Paths to Illustrator. My computer's freezing up. Paths to Illustrator, and then work path, okay, and then I'll ask you, and then just export it as that, and I'll export it as an Illustrator Illustrator lines. Now in Illustrator, you can simply go to Save As, and then I'm just gonna put an SSSS and desktop, and then you want to save it as a Illustrator 8 file. This is the only way that it'll work in Cinema 4D. We're going to be using Cinema 4D, and it's very basic stuff, so you can download Cinema 4D almost you can download all these programs I have anywhere, so it's not like it's an issue of having Cinema 4D. Then I'm going to use those work paths over here. I think I actually have a saved version of Michael's work path, Michael remake. There we go. I have his exported in already. That's a more accurate version, but I'm just going to show you how to do it. You just take this is the one that I exported out of Illustrator, and then just drag it in, click OK, and that's the wrong one. Yeah, this is the right one, and then you have your work path. This just was hidden, it was hidden in here, that's why you can't see it. There it is. So I'm just going to close these. I don't need this anymore, and I also don't need Photoshop. I'll close that as well. My PC is really slow today. It's been slow recently, I don't know why, I think it's my dad. So that's how you get your parts. If you want these to be together, you just select them both. Why aren't they selecting? Right click, connect objects plus delete, you can just drag it out, and then you will have your path like that. But today I'm going to use Michael's one instead, which is actually saved, my bad. User objects, Michael remake. And then first thing you want to do is you just want to add an extrude. Then you put the, hang on to the extrude, and then I would make this maybe 200-ish, 220, let's make it 220. Ooh, that's really big. Let me actually just do this first. I'm gonna make this 1920 by 1080p. You can use whatever resolution you want. 1080, and I'll keep that like that for now. And this seems a bit long. Let me try 150. Let's try 120. Let's try 90. Trial and error, boys. 80, 70. I want it to be nice. Okay. Then we're going to go to cap, fillet cap here as well. And then I guess 5 is okay. I want let's make it 4. I'm gonna make the fillet caps 4, and then I guess that's all for the first one. And then all we're gonna do is we're gonna duplicate this. Holding down Control, you can duplicate it. And then this one we'll just make the caps a bit bigger. Here, this should be 4. And I'll just make the caps maybe like 10, 15, 15. And then I'll make it a lot shorter, maybe 30. And then if I move it in, this is what we're making right now. So we're just gonna adjust the caps maybe to around that size. And right now it looks very dull, but you'll see where it comes into place. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy the positions. There, yeah. If you copy this position, say apply, they should be in the same place, but I actually want this to be centered. So that seems pretty cool. It seems good. I'm just gonna make it a bit longer though. Maybe something like that. Let's try 50. 45. I like being accurate, don't judge. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take the 2 and right click, group objects, and then you have a null, and then I'll name this Michael logo. Okay. And then you want to go right click. I'm actually just going to save this in case it does crash. Okay, and then we get into the textures. Now I'm gonna make the outer part white, and then I'll make the rest blue. So we're gonna have a reflector. We're gonna go add legacy reflection. Let me actually just take the other ones I have instead of, and then I'll just show you what's inside them, because those are a lot better. So I have my presets over here. These are called outline, outline, yeah, these two, outline 3. So in these I have a white color. I actually have a white texture color. I could just change it there, but this is just how I set it up. And then I have a luminance at brightness 15% and max strength, min strength at mix strength at 40%. Hello. And it's also, remember this for now, this should be on for now. And then I went to reflectant, And then under here, I have 50% reflection brightness, and then under the reflection, I have brightness 25, 60. It's all about filling around in the reflections. It depends on how you want it to look. And then I'm just going to add the white onto the outside and then the blue onto the inside. The only difference on the blue is I just changed the color to blue. So yeah. And then to make the effect, make it look really nice. This is very dull right now. As you can see, it looks really bad. To make it look really nice, let me just check these. I'm going to go to anti-aliasing. I'll make this best. 2 times 2 and 4 is fine, and then I will add ambient occlusion and global illumination. Ambient occlusion, it automatically adds shadows to the edges where 2 objects meet. It automatically adds shadows, so you don't have to have lights there. I like just having that on. And global illumination is basically objects in the scene that light up. Like if you have a circle with a luminance on it, and then I have a sphere here, and I add this. If global illumination is on, then basically that will do is it will make this object light up the logo instead of having actual lights in there. See, there's light, there's actually lights reflecting off the edge there. So that's what global illumination is, but I'm not going to use global illumination on this one. All I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a whole lot of lights. You could use 3-point lighting and all that, but that's a lot to explain in other videos. So I'm just going to use this basic light, and then I'll just basically duplicate it everywhere. I'm done. So this is what it will look like. Something like that maybe. Move it to the side. And I want this to be a lot shorter, but a lot wider. Something like that. I don't know why the scene looks really dark right now. Okay, then we're gonna go into type, spot is fine. Then we're gonna go to shadow map soft. What that will do is it will have nice shadows and stuff everywhere. And I'm gonna put this centered, and then I'll just duplicate it, move it to the side a bit. I'm holding down shift to keep these. What you want to do is you want to rotate and you hold down shift and you'll keep it, and I'll skip it to angles of 10 if you want perfect angles like that. I'm just gonna move it to the side so you can have some shadows all around the logo. And then I also want that to be a bit angled as well. Maybe 10, 30, something like that. I'll just move it, whoops, I'll just move it away. Something like that, yeah. And then for this left one, we'll just duplicate, move it to that side, rotate it all the way around to 180 degrees, and then we'll duplicate it one more time, and this one will go on top. All the way up. There. And now for your camera angle, this is the one which you will be rendering out as. You just want to get a nice angle basically to which you like, and then you just add a camera, and you're just going to go into the camera by clicking that, and then you want to move this around. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a protection tag. What this does is that if I accidentally am in the camera and I don't want to mess up where my camera position is, a protection tag will make sure that my camera doesn't move around accidentally. And then it will remind me that I have to go out if I just want to fiddle around and edit stuff instead of messing up my camera. So that's what I would do there. So I'm just going to move out of this quickly. Alright, so now I'm just going to do a bit of touching up. The lights are a bit fuzzy. Let me actually just see what it looks like in the render. It might take a while with these two on. I don't want global illumination. So let's go save. See, my camera already feels a bit off. This is what it looks like now. There's a bit of reflections, but I want my camera to, let me just take the tag off. I want this to be a bit this way and this way. I want a nice angle to it. If this was my logo, I would make my logo a bit angled that way. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take my logo, and I want this thing to be rotated a bit. Ooh, here's another thing I can show you. Let me just put the tag back on. as over here, as you can see, your axis point is way off the logo. Here it's in the center, here it's in the center. You can just go to mesh, axis center, point to center, and then these two, execute, and then I'll put it at the center. It doesn't always work perfectly, but this is what I do. If you don't put points in center on, you want to put this on 1%, I believe. Let me see what it looks like now. Yeah, there it's centered, so I'm just going to do that. So now it's centered, and if I want this to be centered as well, execute center. So now when you rotate it and stuff, it rotates at the center and not off at a weird angle. So now I can go back into the camera, I can take the whole thing, and then I can rotate it at a nice angle so that the light and stuff reflects nicely. Then I'm just going to move it a bit to the left and a bit to the up. And let's just see if it's lighted all the way around nicely. I sort of want this top one to go a bit... how can I do this? Let me make this brightness 150. And then I'll go into the camera. Let's see what it looks like in the render. Okay, I guess that looks a bit fine. It does look a bit rigid on the sides. Yeah, it looks like there's a bit of bump. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to just go into subdivisions and add in a few subdivisions. It'll take a bit longer to render, but it should look a lot smoother. We'll see how that goes, and I'm just going to add in ambient occlusion as well for the nice shadows. We don't have any self-lit objects in the scene, so global illumination won't do much. And then I'll just let this render out quickly and see what it looks like. Another thing, if you want the background to be transparent instead of black, what you do is you just click alpha channel there and you change it to PNG. So now I can go and edit this in Photoshop as well. So I'm just going to give this a name. It'll be Hey Smexels Render. Okay, so now the render is done. This is what we have. You could, if you have bigger objects, if you want it to be higher resolution, you could just go and export in higher resolution. Then I'm going to go into Photoshop, and I'm not going to show you how I made it look a lot better, because that takes a lot of time, and it's going to take a long time. So I'm just going to load up a preset. This is what I have with a whole load of adjustment layers on, and for the background I just used I actually used this off another wallpaper, off another channel art. So this background, I can't really explain this to you because, as you can see, there's a lot of different effects. You'll have to go and learn how to make nice backgrounds and stuff with a lot of gradients. But I just added a few adjustment layers. As you can see over here, I have quite a lot of nice presets of adjustment layers and gradient maps and stuff. And I just added a mask onto the logo. I'm actually just going to go and take out the logo to show you how I did it there. It's going to drag this in, put it in that position. I did this for the altitude logo as well. As you can see, the altitude's nice and shiny. It's all about your lighting and how you set it up if you want it to look more reflective and stuff. So I just took this, delete that layer mask, and then I held down Alt, and then I just replaced all these other layer masks. Boom. And that's what that's how I made it look nice. I'm using this on my channel art and my YouTube picture currently. So yeah, that's how you make your logo 3D. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day, and I will see you on my next video.